Yo, people, lateness is greatness. We was waiting on Monstar, but we're going to just crack on. We're going to get him. We'll add him in when he gets here. I mean, like I said, we're coming back off the massive win at Anfield. We've got Lewis, we've got Monstar joining us, and we've got Liverpool fan Grizz. Do you know what I'm saying? You probably all remember Big Six as well. We got to do that afterwards, but this is a nice little prep, Grizz. Before we get into that, let's really focus on our fixture and just get all about our system, because when we get on there, it's going to be mad. Just what are your initial thoughts just after the result was over? Because it's a big defeat for you guys in the race for the top four. I don't know where your confidence levels are now. I mean, for us, it's a must win as well. Puts us in the top four. And even still, I think Everton have a game in hand. West Ham. I mean, how are you feeling after the result, bro?
Rough. Very rough. Like rough. But it is what it is, man. So, you know, we've been chatting last few weeks, and as I said, and I've said before, and I'm gonna have to say some things that you've probably heard before, but you know, your viewers and listeners may not have. So I personally have lowered the expectations. So when you lower your expectations, then defeats like this don't hurt as much as they would have if everything was normal. So going into this game, I was hoping for a win. I was expecting a draw, but I knew there was a very good chance we could lose as well, because of the fact that we've been beaten by far worse teams than you guys. And you guys, in my opinion, are probably the second best team in the league right now. Like,
second best? Do you really think so?
Tell me another team that's better than you apart from Man City. That's my humble opinion.
Lewis, I don't want to brag. I mean,
no, right now, bro. Right now, I don't see a better team. I don't see a better team tactically drilled. I don't see a better team with a squad full of players, full fit players. I think only Gilberto Silva is missing, maybe.
Thiago Silva.
I beg Gilberto Silva.
You wouldn't notice the difference, man. Don't worry.
There you go. Shit, Gilberto, but another Don, by the way. So, and Thiago Silva, you know, I've been a massive fan of Thiago Silva anyway, last few years. But you know, he's the only one missing, really, I think, from your squad. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys will know more. But if it's squad, the new bounce of the manager, and when I say bounce, he's like sort of everyone talked about the early fixtures being easy for him, but he done what he done. And then everyone said, no, but when it comes to Atletico, Man United and Liverpool, that's when the acid test will be. And he passed that flying colours. Like, I know you mans were a bit pissed off with the draw against United, but it wasn't a bad result. Man United on the road are very decent. It's at home where the problems lie. And with us,
collectors.
Yeah, nil collectors. We can talk. yeah, exactly. Nil collectors. Yeah, man, spud me G. But listen, the fact of the matter is, you guys turned up, and I thought certain players, no, every single player won their personal battle, because he near enough implemented a one-on-one everywhere on the pitch, like almost like a Bielsa style, and then and he was confident in and every player was confident in their own ability. Confidence was high, the tactical acumen was high, your fitness energy levels were high, and you faced the Liverpool team was the total opposite of everything of that. So we weren't tactically astute. We didn't have the energy levels, and we haven't got a fully fit squad. So, you know, I thought Chelsea was superb. I thought Liverpool were atrocious. And you got the 3 points that you well deserved. Yeah, it was very bad, Matisse. It was very bad. You know, I'm not one of these reactionary fans that sort of just every game flip-flops. I know where we're at this season because of the situation, right? But sometimes you have to show up and turn up and fight, at least, regardless of your level of ability, because that's the bare minimum. Fight. And I thought every one of your players fought their personal battles, and that's where it's about. You won your personal battles.
Do you know what it is, for me, in terms of, big up to the chat as well. I can see you guys in here. Thanks very much. I appreciate you all joining us. I can see you man were getting restless. You know what I'm saying? We're just waiting on Monstar, but I was like, you know what, let Let me not go any longer for you guys because you seem like he's getting restless. My camera was all over the place, spazzing out. I mean, for me, it was just a great performance. And for me, this was more difficult than the Man United game because I felt like Man United were there for the taking. That they've been hitting 0-0s on the road, week after week against the top 6 ever since the slap against Tottenham. And for me, I just felt like if we could have just pinched one goal, we would have been fine. I was a little bit more worried about your team with your front three and everything. But Lewis, I mean, talk to me about that defense. Do you know what I mean? Who's leading the way in terms of that defense? AC.
You already know the Danish Maldini himself, Andreas Baresi, Andreas Maldini, Andreas Beckenbauer himself. Thiago Silva's been gone for the last 6 or 7 games, and his boots have been filled expertly by Denmark's finest export. And I will say, first off, we won't give it just to Christensen. We'll bring the whole back three into it because Rudiger's also performed levels over the last few weeks. And personally, Rudiger was a centre-back that I didn't personally rate and I didn't really back him. And he's proved me wrong as well. So give Rudiger all the plaudits as well. He's been excellent.
Me too.
Plaudits as well. But the one player who's been getting the most stick out of the entire fan base this season has been Don Andreas. And like I've said, for the most part, it has been greatly undeserved, especially for the mistakes that people hold him against and also the performance that he has in those games. I've always said over 90 minutes, Christensen is a good defender. Yeah, he can have the odd howler. He's a confidence player. And if he has a big howler in a game that costs us the match, I'll be the first one to say, don't play him in the next game because he'll drop another howler in that game. But when he's confident, when you put the self-belief in him, there is a baller in there, and no one can say anything to me now after the last 6 or 7 games. It has been amazing seeing the 2021 remontada from him, from Antonio Rudiger as well. We got Manchester United first off under tier 6 lockdown. We got Liverpool under tier 6 lockdown as well. It has been glorious scenes over the last week, but I've just been wanting to see Christensen ball out in himself, and I just wanted to say something. How long has Christensen been at the club?
Since 16, time.
I think. Age of 16.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, right? And hopefully someone in the chat, if you guys don't know it, will know it, right? Did he not make his debut, or was one of his debuts not in the famous Stevie G slip game?
Oh, no, he didn't play that one.
He didn't play that one, did he?
Oh, it was Callas. I beg your pardon.
It was Thomas Callas. Yeah.
It was Thomas Callas, because I was the... Yeah. He made his debut or something. Yeah, because there was a young defender I remember who made his debut, and we thought, "Who's that?" And he stood out.
Played very well.
Suarez got pocketed last week. It weren't back in 2014. But
that's what I was thinking. You know what? Because I was thinking Christensen, boy, a long stretch he's done there. But yeah,
man.
Bro, it's the composure with him. He looks exactly like the same player I saw in 17-18. And 17-18, it was the same thing. David Luiz came off his best season in a Chelsea shirt. Had all those problems with Antonio Conte. You never saw him again in 17-18. You didn't notice the difference for about 4 months straight because Christensen came in, and I still say it, was one of the best defenders in the league at that point until the Barcelona game. Consistently brilliant performances, game in and game out. Then there was the howler for the Barcelona goal. It is what it is. It's a howler. But like I said,
happens to any young player, to be fair. He was young.
Exactly. After that was a United game. Got bullied by Lukaku that match. Then there was a City game. I think he was involved in a mistake for Bernardo Silva's goal. And you know where it goes from there. It was a downward spiral. Then Sarri butchered his confidence because he barely even played him, barely even looked at him funny, to be honest. And then it was just a slow recovery back from then. Last season, no defender really put themselves in any light. Christensen had howlers. Zuma had howlers. Rudiger had howlers. They all had howlers. Yeah. This season, low-key, Christensen's had a great season from the start. No one's just giving him, even in a back four, first few games of the season, Brighton, he was amazing, but no one notices it because Kepa tax cost us a clean sheet. Liverpool, great first half, absolute howler for the red card. It is what it is. Howler, we move on. West Brom, you can't tell me he wasn't the best centre-back that we had that game because Thiago Silva was directly involved in one of the goals.
He slipped up.
So it has to be Christensen too. Villa, John Terry. I love John Terry. He put him in the mud for no reason. And I told you a few weeks ago, John Terry was wrong when he made that statement. And he probably knows it himself. Christensen was out for 3 weeks as a result of that 50-50, which really and truly, there was a handball in the build-up to that goal as well that no one even bothered looking at. But again, it's always AC agenda.
Do you know what it is with Christensen, right? And obviously, I'm going to give him all of his praise, all of his fair dues. I was one of those people that were very skeptical. When Thiago Silva went out injured, I said to myself, this defense is very screwed, because I felt, and I've never been one to pick a best centre-back before Thiago Silva signed. When we had Zuma, Luiz, Christensen, and Rudiger, people said, who's our best centre-back? I said, I'm not getting involved, because I felt there's no point. Or when we had put Tomori into that, last season under Lampard, and take Luiz out, everybody asked me who's our best centre back. I said I'm not getting involved, because it's not worth a discussion. Nobody stepped up like a Van Dijk at Liverpool and cemented their place and said, I'm going to not only be the best centre back here, but I'm going to lead the ones next to me. The only thing with Christensen is, right, I made this analogy the other day. When Thiago Silva was gone, I said, who's going to fill his boots? He's a size 10. Everybody else can't fit boots, so who's going to put them on? And everybody said, all right, AC is going to go into the team. And AC kind of just said, listen, I'm going to wear the same boots. And I was like, I don't know, you might wobble a bit, do a catwalk. Let's see what you can do. And he strutted his stuff. Do you know what I mean? He hasn't fallen over. Do you know what I mean? The purchases have been made. He's been brilliant. I mean, Grizz, to push it back onto Liverpool, we've had obviously players that we don't rate, like Rudiger, doing well. Is there any player in that game that you felt from last night that you would say to yourself, okay, they didn't step up to the level that I was hoping for? Obviously injuries, everything comes into it. But is there any player that underperformed for you that you thought, okay, you didn't really do your job here today?
From the Liverpool side, yeah?
Yeah.
Every single one of them, brother. Every single one of them. Not one played to their true potential. See, the thing with Alisson, right? So obviously, we all know the personal tragedy, right? He's gone through, right? So that can fuck up anyone's brain and mind and the way of thinking, yeah? So even if you put that to the side, which is difficult, but let's just try to put it to the side. Even if you put that to the side, right? When you have a different centre-back pairing every single week, it causes disruption. It causes the lack of the communication. The understanding is not there. So, for example, last week is the first time he played behind Kabak and Phillips. And this week, believe it or not, Phillips was injured. So now we had Fabinho coming back, who was a 50-50 doubt, but we had to thrust him in.
I feel like he wasn't ready, was he? He didn't.
You could tell he wasn't ready, but we had to thrust him in. But obviously, other fans don't want to know about that. Media don't want to know about that. They just want to know, shit, Liverpool lost again. But there's many factors. Alisson is trying to sometimes overcompensate. So, when you, like, we've all played football as well. When you're playing with someone that is new and he's not as good as probably the player. You know what I'm saying, innit, bro? So, and you try to do extra, and when you try to do that extra, you're going into a unknown territory, unknown zone, because normally you're a system, your system like the back of your hand, and what everything's under control, everything's good. But when things are not, when things are ropey and you've got new people, you try to do things differently. And sometimes he was coming out for the ball when he shouldn't have. Like the Werner situation, he still made a couple of good saves. I mean, it could have been worse. Like if Werner, had his shooting boots on. I mean, it could have been worse.
That moment where Werner lobbed him. I mean, we're going to get into that incident as well, because me and Anita kind of cooked the referee and officials last night. But also on Liverpool tactically, I know it was obvious that you was always going to play a high line, and that's why I said in the preview, I hope someone fast plays up front, like a Kai Havertz or a Timo Werner, because I felt like we was going to be able to put the ball over the top quite easily. And hopefully, Chelsea haven't been great with through balls this season, but Jorginho picked it up, Kante, these guys started to play balls over the top, and Werner was running in behind and whatnot. Do you feel like in any way, shape or form, tactically, you could have changed it and been like, okay, cool, we've just had a goal conceded from Werner. It hasn't counted wrongfully, in my opinion, but we'll get to that. Do Liverpool go back deeper? Do we change the tactics? Do you want anything changed there? Or is it just Liverpool have been going for so many years in one way, they're not going to change and drop deep? They're not going to do things like that under Klopp.
This is the major and only criticism of Klopp I've got in the situation that he's got is the fact that he's so stubborn in his way of playing. Like you've just said, like we just said on our channel as well, we know how we're going to set up, and Thomas Tuchel knew how we're going to set up. And yes, I've bigged you up in terms of you've played, you've done your job, but really you didn't have to be outstanding to beat us. Like you didn't, you've played.
That's been the case for so many big games. Atletico, Tottenham, same thing.
Yeah, but
But we don't try to be outstanding.
I was just going to say, you were so tactically right, though, bro. You were so tactically right. You knew what you had to target to have success. And that's the disappointing thing from a Liverpool fan. We knew that as well. Listen, we're playing with yesterday was our 6th and 7th choice centre-backs. And we're still playing the same way what we play with Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk. Now, we saw in the first game, when them brothers are playing, you can have anyone playing against you. No one beats them one-on-one. We know where we're at. We got Fabinho protecting. We got Virgil and Gomez or Virgil and Matip, and then Alisson. And that's like being the wall of China for the last 2-3 years, right? But it's not that now. It's not that. We're playing our 6. It's flimsy. It's weak. It's fine. Listen, not only is Fabinho's Henderson snapping away at your ankles in midfield, no Fabinho Henderson snapping away. And then we're talking about the back 4. We've got Gini, who has played every single minute of every single game because no choice. And Thiago, who's a baller, he's a luxury baller. He likes to be on the ball, but you're making him run in the Premier League.
Do you know what I'm realizing?
It's hard work.
You've got too many injury-prone midfielders. Thiago Atlanta's always had a sketchy injury record. Keita injuries now. Chamberlain. Like, it's just too many players in a very industrious part of the pitch in the Premier League, especially in a system that you play, which is quite energetic. There's so many injury-prone players.
Kante strolled through that game.
Yeah.
Kante strolled through that game. You know, Kante, even when you're at your peak fitness, he eats you, right? This was a walk in the park for him.
Yeah. And Jorginho,
you know,
I felt
normally we eat Jorginho up. We target Jorginho every time we play Chelsea and Jorginho's playing. We know to press him and we'll get chances off the back of him. So many. We keep nicking the ball. There was none of that. We didn't have the energy to do that. We didn't have even Bobby normally does that, comes back. Didn't have the energy. I thought, you know, you touched upon your boys. I mean, the less I talk about Liverpool players, the better for me, because I'm just going to get angry again the more I'm talking about them. So, I'm okay to talk about good players and certainly Rudiger. You're talking about Rudiger being not a favorite of the fans or whatever. I was never a Rudiger fan, but this season, since he's got that second chance, since your coach has come in,
Tuchel's coming,
guy's looking hungry again. He's looking like he loves defending and he wants it. And he put Mane in his pocket when Mane went out there. Him and Salah were having a good battle, but that's why Liverpool fans are shocked that Salah was brought off. But that's a different story for a different day, maybe. But from our side, there was no one who played even remotely close to their potential. Yeah, no one. Robertson and Trent done okay, but apart from that, everyone was dead for Liverpool. Dead.
This super chat, thanks very much, Jared, says crazy idea, but if you don't want to sit AC out when Silva comes back, would you play him in the 6 next to Kante? I'll direct that to Lewis afterwards and play a back 4. For me personally, I wouldn't change Chelsea's formation. Why would you? When you're unbeaten and you've barely conceded any goals, the defensive structure is so strong, and you've beaten big teams and you've beaten small teams, so it's shown that it can work against a variety of opponents that play a variety of ways. Now that we played Liverpool, who play a higher line as well, why would you change formation just to accommodate a player staying in the team? For me, when it comes to keeping AC in the team for Silva, either you have to put Silva back into the middle and move AC to the left, because I don't know if I want a 36-year-old on the flanks of the defense in the wide areas, or you have to simply, unfortunately and ruthlessly, take out AC and swap in Silva back in, who was playing in the middle when we was keeping clean sheets with Silva, Rudiger and Aspie. So I wouldn't move him into midfield because that goes against the whole point of keeping AC in the team. The reason why you want to keep AC in the team is because he's playing so well in the position that he's in. If you move him into midfield, then what? Because we haven't seen him in midfield at Chelsea, and we've got Jorginho playing very well. Jorginho's record this season, when he started, he's only lost 1 game, and that was against Liverpool at Stamford Bridge when we went down to 10 men. Every other game that he's started this season, we haven't lost. That is a ridiculous stat that I've only just seen today. Kovacic has been playing quite well. Kante played great last night as well with Jorginho as a pivot. That was my pivot in the predicted lineup. Well, not predicted lineup, but the lineup I wanted to see. So I wouldn't start moving centre-backs into midfield now. I mean, Lewis, what would you do, bro?
Here's the thing. And I echo a lot of the points that you said as well. We can't have Thiago Silva on the flanks of that defensive third because that's just problems in itself. I will say, though, one of the things that we said under Frank Lampard that we didn't agree with a lot was we were meant to be playing players based on merit, and we weren't doing that a lot under Lampard. I would like the same energy, please. Because
no, I don't know.
I'm not. That's not a shot at you. That's not a shot at you.
Yeah, because
that's
I don't know
just
if Tuchel is wired that way. Where because the thing is with Lampard is if Abraham had a great game and then we had an opposition that didn't suit Abraham, he would play Abraham on merit, and that was Lampard. That's what Lampard said to us. If you're training well, if you're playing well, then you have to play. But Tuchel, you've seen Giroud's been playing well, but he tactically switched up to suit Liverpool. I think he's more going in a tactical direction than a merit one. But yeah, go for it.
That's the thing where they're both very similar, even though obviously Silva is levels above Christensen. We ain't even going to have that sort of debate. But
yeah,
Christensen, like we said, is a confidence defender. If he has 7 brilliant games like he's had right now, only to get dropped as soon as Thiago Silva's back, all you do is drain the kid's confidence again. And it's just back to square one, in my opinion. Also, Thiago Silva ain't exactly our long-term future. If anything, it's probably the 3 centre-backs that we already have. Maybe not as Piliqueta, but you get the points I'm trying to make anyway. But the point still stands in itself. They're our future. So to an extent, I'd like to prioritise them as well. But I also stick with the merit thing and I say, no one in this back 3 deserves to get dropped right now. So I wouldn't be able to make a case to drop any of the 3 unless it's literally just for Thiago Silva's quality, which I understand as well. But there's also the mental aspects to these things. And I think it's great that we can rotate between the pair of them if that's what we end up doing. But I also do think we need to think in terms of the confidence of these players as well. So I think the best thing about this is that we haven't had to rush Thiago Silva. Because really and truly, if one of those back 3 were dropping howlers, Silva still would have started the Liverpool game. I think he's at a good enough point that he would have started. It's just because of how good everyone is, we don't have to throw him in. We can let him rest. We can let him come back at 100%. And it's good for him at that age too. I'm not saying he never starts for us again or anything like that. It's a long season. But right now, does he start? Based on the way that back 3 is playing, like there's a case to keep the back 3 the way it is. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Nothing's broken right now. The only goals we've conceded was a Rudiger own goal and a Zuma howler. And the reason why that howler was there was because who wasn't in the middle? Andreas Christensen.
It's facts. It's fact. Do you know what it is, yeah? For me personally, obviously quality-wise and ability-wise, Silva for me is still a level above everybody in defense, right? But like you said, the mental of it, who do you drop? It's a brilliant problem to have. It's a problem you'd rather have than a problem where you don't know who to play because everybody's playing so poorly, which is what's been going on up front for so long for Chelsea. But for me, it's going to be very interesting to see what Tuchel does because I'm not really sure. Matthias says with this super chat, let's keep it measured. If Mane had been Salah, AC would have been at fault for a penalty. Great transition in the second half. With one touch we lacked before. Which penalty incident is he referring to? Because
when Mane didn't go down like an idiot, he brain dead again. Another sign of brain dead Liverpool player.
I thought he should have gone down with that one.
Every striker, every attacker worth his salt. Kane, Rashford, Vardy, Jesus of Man City, all of them man would have gone down there. Every single one. And Sterling, add him as well. Every single player.
Because VAR would have called that as a pen too if he went
100%. Down. There was contact, but he's so strong and brave, and he's at the moment
he's an honest guy.
He's a very honest guy. Trust me, Salah would have gone down.
Is that annoying for you as a fan that he didn't go down?
Yeah, very annoying. What, we won the moral battle? What? Well, he's gonna get a medal for that. We ain't scored in 500 minutes. Go down, get the penalty, and we take the lead. It would have been a total different ball game if we took the lead. True. You know what I mean? And the other one as well, the chance he had where Salah puts him and he misses the ball completely, like air kicks the ball, like, you know. But anyway, it is what it is. We had a chance. That was the only chance we had, and the penalty situation. But apart from that, we didn't even look like scoring.
It's the type of shithousery that you're looking for, isn't it? Really, in your team.
Listen, small when you're playing at this level, every little thing makes a difference. Small margins, fine margins. You understand? For example, look at the offside goal. Fine margin for you guys.
I mean, we have to talk about that. I mean, what did you make of that? Because for me, that was a disgrace. What is it? A hair follicle? A hair follicle offside. The thing is that when I saw them going back over it, they took Robertson's, was it elbow, and matched it up with Timo's arm or something?
It was his shoulder with Timo Werner's hand, and it's like, well, we don't play handball, we play football. So why does it matter if his hand's offside? Like it's gonna have anything to do with the play. If it has anything to do with the play, it's a free kick to Liverpool, yellow card to Werner. So I don't get why the hand's involved. I don't get why the angles are dodgy as well, because another angle shows Werner offside. If you do it in a diagonal angle, you can make it look a bit more offside. It's just jarring, but that's why there's so many questions with VAR.
Yeah, it's true, and it's, for me, it's long because they're killing the sport. I've said it so many times, is that now when people score, I don't even know if I can celebrate, because are they going to call it offside? Are they going to pull it back? Are they going to check it? They're draining the sport. The sport's already got no supporters in the ground. And then what's
this? Why do we love? One of the reasons why we love this game is all about the passion and the emotion in it.
Yeah.
Right. So kids grew up doing their celebrations, different celebrations they have in their mind. When you're at the game, you just hug and grab anyone you want and you celebrate. That's gone now. You don't. You have to wait for VAR to check 5 different angles. Do you know what I mean? Before you can start hugging, man. By then, that moment's gone. You're like,
they don't even always get the decision correct anyway.
And you don't even know what they're checking, what the decision's for, or if it was correct. Look, I felt for you guys. It was as far as I'm concerned, that should be allowed to stand. But we've been on the receiving end loads, so it's not. I know certain fans turn it into a conspiracy against their own clubs. Like, oh, this is a mad Chelsea conspiracy, or this is a mad Liverpool conspiracy. It ain't no conspiracy. They're just shit. The officials are shit at their job, and that's the problem. They have to start training with. See, the thing is, these referees have been brought up to just referee a game, right?
Yeah.
And no one asks them anything afterwards.
Yeah. No, so they should have interviews after the game.
They do what they want, and then that's it. They go home. Simple. No, nothing is heard. It's all about the players and the managers moaning afterwards. Yeah. Now, what they need to do is to be trained and be accountable, like sort of held accountable for decisions, and also they need to be trained how to use VAR and deal with VAR, because it's a total different way of refereeing. But that's a long debate, bro. I don't even know if you want to go into that shit today.
I won't even go into that too much. We picked up. If we didn't pick up the W now, obviously I would have still. Do you know what I'm saying? We obviously limited Liverpool to 1 shot on target, and Man United, I think, no shots on target in the first half when we played them. So Chelsea are just not conceding goals, and that's because they're not conceding chances. The lack of shots on goal on our goalkeeper Mendy is ridiculous. It's fantastic. So big up to the team for that. But obviously we spoke about the defense already. I think the midfield is so key, and I spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, is that, and I've seen a few other people mention it, that Chelsea are keeping possession as a way of defending. Sarri did it. I think Pep does it. If you have the ball, the opposition can't score. We had less possession this game, but it still felt like we had control. And what I mean by that is that we under the press, we kept the ball very well. If we did give it away, it was because we was trying to do something. We didn't give the ball away in any stupid areas, and create transitions in dangerous places where defenders get left 1v1 and stuff like that. I thought Jorginho and Kante in this game together as a pair were unbelievable. And I still prefer those two together than Kovacic and Kante together, because I feel like when Jorginho is playing, you just automatically tend to get more possession in the game. You tend to get more control. And he if he's at his best, he can look to dictate the possession. I think that was one of his best games for Chelsea. That might have gone under the radar, but I think in a Chelsea shirt, that's probably one of his best performances. And then Kante was great as well. Both of them had passes in the hands for both the goals, one disallowed, but both the opportunities. Lewis, we've spoken about Reece James so much, right? And he obviously played this game, and Trent. And we've both spoken on Reece James in terms of being more complete, in our opinion, than Trent as a footballer. And obviously Trent, for me, gets done on that goal for Mason Mount. Grizz, what do you make of Trent defensively? Because for me, you shouldn't really be allowing Mason Mount to cut in on his right foot like that. He's not good. Like, there's nowhere else to go. It's very clear where he's going. Do you know what I mean? And I think even Robertson might have said in the interview afterwards that he was a bit disappointed with the way that the goal happened. He felt it was too easy for him.
So look, the initial how he gets caught is how we get caught with our fullbacks, sort of always on the halfway line or past halfway line. I thought it was equally Fabinho's fault as Trent's, because Fabinho is the first one to sort of go and engage him, and criminally sort of let him cut inside so much that Mount was left with no option but to shoot and take the shot, and it was a brilliantly taken goal. Trent overall defensively, people forget he's still young, he's still young. Just because he's won everything there is to win, apart from internationally, I beg your pardon, people forget he's still a kid. Just because he started young. People also forget this. He's only been playing right back for 3.5 seasons. All his life, he played as a central midfielder. So this is a total different role for him. Obviously, people don't want to know that again. So you have to give background to Trent. Trent was a central midfielder. So when you convert an attacking central midfielder, let me add. So when you convert him to a right back, it's like very similar to Hudson-Odoi going there as a right back. You're going to have deficiencies defensively, but he's grown into it. He used to get caught out so many times when he was younger. Rashford gave him a hard time. Zaha gave him a hard time once. So it happens to all young players. But overall, you need to see him week on week to see how good this kid is. I mean, it's insane. You don't get the numbers he's got. You don't play in this Klopp team if you're not special. He's a very, very special talent, man. I get where you guys are going with Reece, but this guy on a talent level is a different level to Reece. Defensively, he no doubt has his flaws. But as I said, A, it's not his position that he's been playing all his life. And B, he's still young. We know defenders. We're talking about Christensen and Rudiger who've been out of favour and come back. Defenders peak when they're 28, man, 29, man. Do you understand? So this guy is 21, 22. He's still got he's got a lot to learn, but he's got his whole career ahead of him.
Yeah. Big up Monstar in the building, my guy. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Great to have you with us. I mean, just before we get Monstar's views on everything, I mean, Lewis, do you want to combat that in terms of Reece? Because I know me and you big him up loads of times. I mean, I can get Grizz on the big six, but if you want to go head to head there with the Reece propaganda, let him. What do you think?
I've already said I thought Reece James is more well-rounded than Trent is. And I give Trent, that's nothing against Trent because I give him credit. Going forward, he's levels clear of Reece James and what he is right now. But I think the difference is, I think Reece James is levels clear of Trent defensively, and what Reece offers offensively is good enough compared to how good Trent Alexander-Arnold is, that it doesn't make too much of a difference. Like, Reece James's crossing ability is severely underrated. And half the reason why is because he's been crossing to the likes of Tammy Abraham, Pulisic, Timo Werner all season. And the deliveries have been good. It's just to the wrong people. Like, Reece James really and truly should be on 20+ assists for the year of 2020. But he hasn't because the people that we have up front just aren't good enough. And that's been the problem for years now. Like, we aren't clinical in the final third. We waste chances for fun. This isn't a Lampard thing. This isn't a Tuchel thing. This is a Chelsea thing. We ain't got a clinical finisher. That's why we're all literally on our knees begging for Erling Haaland. Because if we have somebody clinical, title's done. Title is done.
And if he was able to put up the statistics for Reece's assists and all those crosses that we see across the box, where Sterling really at Man City would be tapping them all in. And it's not like Sterling's imposing in the box or physical specimen. It's just the fact that the awareness and know-how to where to make the run and where to be. So for me, it's long. But England are very fortunate in that position. They've got Tariq Lamptey, they've got Kyle Walker, they've got Trent, they've got James, they've got so many great fullbacks coming through on that right-hand side. I mean, I'm just hoping Southgate knows what he's doing in terms of who to pick and where.
You know what's hilarious about that? We've had barely any decent right-backs in Premier League history, and now we've got 7 slapped on our head. It's hilarious.
It's funny how it works out, isn't it? It's mad. And to be fair, I'm not going to lie, before we go back to Chelsea and Liverpool, this England team is probably the most balanced England team we've ever had, because true say, even in the golden generation, people say we don't have a DM and, you know, there's not a lot of balance. How do we play a 4-3-3 or 4-4-2? We probably did. Michael Carrick. You think he could have done the lone DM with Lampard and Gerrard either side?
Or with Paul Scholes and either Lampard or Gerrard. You've got to. That's all they had to do, but they messed.
They wanted to get all 3 of those in the same team. Here. Yeah, they wanted to get Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes all in the same.
Carrick was the most underrated player in recent or past times or recent times, however you want to look at it. Michael Carrick was proper good, but no one recognized it. Not one coach recognized. Well, apart from Fergie. Fergie recognized him and utilized him. He won so many league titles with them, man. So many titles with them. And he was a vital cog. They talk about everyone else, but Michael Carrick was key to him, and even played centre back for him at sometimes because he knew he was so intelligent. Yeah. And if he's good enough for Fergie, everyone else sit down, man.
It's good enough for McLaren.
You know what I'm saying?
Monstar, what did you? just initial reaction, bro, from the game. I mean, how are you feeling after the result, the performance? Talk to me, bro.
First of all, I'd like to apologize for my tardiness. Second of all, big ups to you, man. Grizz, Lewis, Matisse. I would right now go in on Grizz, but I'm gonna say I'm allow it. Do you know what I mean? I think I went on in on the Coppish boys a bit too much now, and you know, I don't want to rub salt in their wounds. But you know, listen, I think we all knew we had a great team. We have a good squad. We just might at a time, you know, this is no disrespect to Frank Lampard, but we just didn't have the manager who could manage his squad to its full potential in it. And I think we've all seen with Tuchel that, listen, he's managing this squad to its potential. Like if Thiago Silva's not there, we've already seen Christensen, Rudiger, Aspi ready to step up. Reece James is not playing. We got Callum Hudson-Odoi. If Chilwell's not playing, we got Alonso. If Kante's not playing, we got freaking Jorginho on cover. It's just he's using the squad to its potential. Like, I know a lot of people have been talking about deadwood this, deadwood that, but I've always said it, as much as it's deadwood and blah blah. Listen, once the transfer window's done and you didn't get rid of them, you've got to learn how to use those players. The one thing Lampard unfortunately couldn't do was trust in all of his players. He would so badly that he would force players out of injury to play. Do you know what I mean? And that shortens players' careers. I didn't like how N'Golo Kante has been managed over the past how many seasons by both Lampard and Maurizio Sarri, innit? Tammy Abraham forced to play through injury last season. Reece James against Arsenal, using Reece James
brought back early,
Chilwell, both of them brought back early, innit? You've seen how we've slowly brought Kante in, and look at how he's
Tuchel actually just said that he's going to be resting Kante because he can't play every single game as well. I think he just said that after the match.
Thiago Silva's back. That's one thing he's back. He's training. He's been training for weeks now, but we're taking our time. And this is how we're supposed to be managing the squad. And the way we're playing as well is good. I think the only issue we still have is we still didn't necessarily, we're not creating enough chances. Yesterday against Liverpool, we did have moments where we should have capitalized and scored more goals, but we didn't take them. Luckily, we did win 1-0. Obviously, we should have got that goal. I think that offside was nonsense. But listen, at the end of the day, we won. And I'm happy with it as much as you guys are in it. Like, I'm so happy, man.
100%. I think what makes a top manager is being able to get the best out of your players and make them potentially look better than they are. And I think when you expose their weaknesses, like we saw Timo Werner on the left wing, and we're seeing how bad his first touches, and we're seeing how bad he is 1v1 and having to kick and chase. When you're exposing Jorginho in transition, cool. Obviously, these players are not perfect, but if you're exposing them, then that's not good, you know? And I think I said it about Klopp. For me, Klopp is the most important man at Liverpool. You know, he makes Liverpool even better than they are, or the individuals, you know. When Liverpool had those injuries at the beginning of this, you know, we talk about Liverpool's bad run, but before the bad run, Liverpool had some injuries and they were bringing in some fringe players and they were winning games, you know, they were winning games. So that's when I'm saying to myself, okay, the manager is leading the standards here, and the players are following. Even if they're not up to that, they will rise to what he's trying to ask of them. Grizz, the one other thing that I wanted to ask you in terms of his management of the game yesterday for Klopp, do you feel like Salah should have come off? Do you feel like that's the wrong move? Because they were saying in the post-match analysis, they felt like maybe if you're trying to win a game, why do you take off a goal scorer or potential goal scorer?
It's a tricky one. I'm not a man who usually looks to criticize a manager who's brought happiness back into my life. The greatest, you know, I was waiting 30 years and we've seen some sort of false dawns, and this guy comes along and does it organically, which makes it even more beautiful, you know? So I'm not one to I'm one to say he knows best, but he's having a rough year, rough season, call it what you want. And when you're going through that phase, we know everyone's human. We're human. Even he may be a god to so many, but he's human, and humans make errors, and humans feel pressurized and tense in certain situations. And I think that was a reactionary move by Klopp as opposed to a footballing move. I thought personally, and a lot of Liverpool fans will lash me for that, saying that, but it is what it is. I can only speak because you asked my opinion. not the opinion. You understand? So
course.
my opinion is he wasn't calm. He wasn't thinking rationally at that moment because apparently Salah didn't chase back a couple of times or was out of position a couple of times where Mount was drifting onto Trent and then with Chilwell doubling up on Trent's side. Yeah. So Salah was caught a couple of times and apparently he told him to come back and he jogged back or something. Normally Klopp overrides that when he's calm, but when he's under so much pressure, personal tragedy, the team's not performing, the injury situation, you make emotional moves, and he's an emotional guy. I thought that was an emotional move, and it was a bad move.
Grizz,
but we don't know the exact reasons.
Grizz, can you blame him? I mean, look at what Rudiger and Christensen were doing to them, man. Like, come on.
I discussed that. I discussed that. I before you came, I said Christensen, Rudiger. I mean, Lewis was mentioning Christensen. They gave him a proper big up before you come. So we did hype up your players, and I personally thought Rudiger was a monster. Pardon the pun, but he was Rudiger. Rudiger was on a mad one, and he has been on a mad one since Tommy Tuchel brought him back into the team instead of Zuma. Because I'm a Zuma fan. Yeah, personally, I'm a big Zuma fan. But I was like, whoa, he's bringing back Rudiger. Okay, this could be problems for Chelsea. But the guy's got like a new lease of life, and I thought each one of your back three was superb, bro. I already said that. There was nowhere for us to go. Look, we're playing dead football anyway. So I'm not going to take that away from you guys' performance, if you know what I mean. Like, I hear you guys, about, he ate Salah and he ate Bobby, but like worse defenders have been eating them up. Like I'm talking, I don't even know the Brighton defenders' names, right? That have been eating them up. Lewis Dunk is all right, but the other fella, that 7-foot left back. Like, how can you have a left back at 7 foot? Webster or something, I think. Yeah. So worse defenders and worse players than Chelsea's have ate our boys up this season. Our boys are fatigued, tired, mentally, physically, and you guys were too much for them yesterday. There's no excuses.
Yeah. Do you know what as well? Before
to be over.
Yeah.
Say again.
No, I was just saying you lot just want the season to be over by this.
100, bro, 100. We want this season done with.
Are you just like Champions League football's just not on the cards?
Champions League, we do what we do because, we have history in Europe. We have history of the Champions League. Sometimes we do rise up to the challenge. I can't see it myself with this depleted squad we've got. I mean, look, it is what it is.
Not top four or anything? No?
Nah, top four's done. I said 5-6 weeks ago, top four's done.
You think it's actually just done? Like, there's no...
We can't
look at the table. You guys are 4 points off Chelsea.
I get all that, but we've had 20 different centre-back partnerships. 20. It's a record.
That reminds me of Lampard actually in our first season. Do you remember when we had Tomori guys?
Matisse, the difference being everyone's saying, but why doesn't Klopp just settle for 2? He can't. Every time he settles for 2, next man gets injured. He just has to keep rotating. And there's no, as we talked about the spine, your spine was strong. Your back free, and then Kante was strong through the middle. We had nothing. And that is it. Normally, we know our spine. As I said to you guys before, we know Virgil, Matip, Henderson, Fabinho, Alisson deal with the matter. And nobody can deal with that. We ain't got that, man. We got a 20-year-old from Bundesliga. We got our 6. As I told you, I don't even know. Can you guys name your 6, 7 centre backs? 6th and 7th choice. I don't even know if you guys know who's your 6th, 7th choice.
So we got Silva, Christensen, Zuma, Rudiger, Tomori. If we want to,
so you know the first 4. So Lewis, you know the first 4. Imagine they're out for the season.
I think. Do you know what the problem is? Do you know what the problem is with Liverpool?
It's a madness, guys.
Yeah. The problem is with Liverpool
and someone else at centre back.
The problem is with Liverpool was when they sold what's his name, Lovren, and they never replaced him. I thought that was a stupid move by Liverpool. What's happening at Liverpool has happened at similar, not to the same extent, but it happened to Chelsea in the 06-07 season. We won two Premier League titles in a row.
Yeah.
The next season, everyone just started getting injured. Now, everyone knows at that point, you've got to refresh your squad. Liverpool haven't refreshed their squad, innit? They've barely bought anyone. And I was asking people, at the beginning of the season, do you think Thiago's enough? Surely that is not enough. They've not gone out and bought barely anyone.
Bro, it's not even this season. We haven't done enough in 4 windows. In 4 windows, our owners have done the bare minimum. The reason why they've done the bare minimum is because they're businessmen. So when businessmen, what's the main aim is profit and cut down
money,
and make money. And also, if they know, so for example, when you've got a manager of any business and he's doing magical things for you, and he's not making demands on you, you just want to sit tight with your money that you've got reserved for an emergency, and you let the magician do his thing. They've been relying on Klopp to do his magic. There's only so much he can do with Ben Davis and Kabak and Phillips, with respect to all these mans. You know what I mean? Curtis Jones is a kid. Mount, for example, Mount's 2 years more. Mount was the man of the match yesterday for me personally. Anyway, Mason Mount was spectacular, and he has been spectacular. But people forget he's 2 years older than Curtis Jones. So you remember we were doing the comparisons between Mason Mount and Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones has got 2 years on him yet. He's a kid. He's still a kid. Mason Mount looks rounded, stronger, can play the full 90 minutes. Curtis Jones can't do that. Mason Mount, imagine.
I'll give you credit as well. He looked impressive.
But am I saying
Mason Mount's 4th or 5th
season at a top level?
Top level. The test.
Yeah, so taking 2 seasons ago, Mason Mount wasn't producing every game near enough like he is now. He was inconsistent, coming in and out of the team, not being relied upon. Curtis Jones is like our main man at the moment, creativity-wise, because we've got Ox, Keita, Fabinho, Henderson. All of them are out. Look at the players' caliber. Look at the caliber of players I've just mentioned there. They walk into most teams, and we're relying on Curtis Jones and Gini to play every single. It's a skeleton, Matisse. But obviously, outside don't want to hear that, and that's fair enough. You have to take the rough with the smooth. Boy, I'm taking it this week badly.
Mad. Do you know what it is? Obviously, we talk about depth as well. I feel like Liverpool did have a certain amount of depth, but obviously, you talk about not having a bloated squad. Chelsea still do have it. We talk about fringe players at Chelsea now starting to rise up the ranks and looking a lot better, Monstar. But is there, for you, in the transfer window upcoming, is there still certain players that you're not levels to win us a Premier League title or to take us to the latter stages of Champions League? Because obviously, it's great now that Tuchel's managed to maybe compensate for some of the weaknesses that they've got in their game with a great system and hide some of those weaknesses. And obviously now they've got the new manager bounce to actually start playing well as well. And they've got the motivation to play for their futures. But do you feel like there's some players that could still be like, maybe you are actually still not dead wood, but you still need to leave? Do you know what I mean? For us to actually progress.
Take it like this, what I would do if I was Chelsea, and this sounds a bit harsh, as much as I like Jorginho and I like Kovacic, in order for Chelsea to get to the next level, these guys, I'm not sure. And I'm looking at, with Kovacic, I'm looking at how Real Madrid replaced him with Federico Valverde, because Federico Valverde was like a Kovacic, but with end products in it. If I'm Chelsea, Gilmore, loan. Havertz and obviously Mount stay with Kante. I'm bringing in a defensive midfielder, a sitting DM, and maybe a deep line playmaker. Simple as that. And that's what I'm gonna. And
you're tearing up that midfield.
Yeah, I need something that's going to take me to the next level. Do you know what I mean? You see how when Mourinho came in, he had good midfielders there, but then he brought in Fabregas to take us to he brought in Matic first, and then he brought in Fabregas to take us to the next level. That's what I would do. I know it sounds harsh, but we have to start looking at, I think Chelsea are going to start looking at how are we going to take Chelsea to the next level. If you bring in a proper DM, someone who can take the load off Kante as well, and you bring in a deep line playmaker who can create from the middle, then Chelsea could be a real problem.
Yeah. Big up Polar Bear for the sponsor. Big up Grizz as well. Do you know what? When it comes to Chelsea fans, a lot of our fans seem to focus on, and me included, we focus on the striking position that needs to be upgraded. We focus on the defense. So it's interesting for you to say actually the midfield, because a lot of Chelsea fans will feel like that's our strongest area. Talk about Billy Gilmore, talk about Conor Gallagher.
Matisse, think about it like this: since Chelsea, since we let Fabregas go to Monaco, he's the only player who we've not replaced and we've not even looked at replacing.
I don't think we've even replaced Matic, to be honest.
Well, yeah, that as well. We thought Jorginho. I think Sarri thought Jorginho was the guy to replace. What's his name? Fabregas.
I think they're different. They're different players for me.
They are different players, exactly. But if you look at, remember when Sarri used to bring Fabregas off the bench, he tried to play him in a similar role.
Yeah.
you need, trust me, that is a role Chelsea need to look at. That creativity from the midfield. Someone, you see how Jorginho was pinging balls over the top. Someone who can consistently do that and things like that and control the midfield is like, I think, you see me, I thought to myself, imagine Mason Mount was on Liverpool team and then Chelsea had Thiago. I'm not saying we should swap, but imagine Chelsea had Thiago doing what Jorginho was doing yesterday. I saw flashes of what Thiago could do. If we had Thiago in that midfield yesterday over Jorginho, I'm talking about the Thiago Alcantara, it would have been a whole different type of problem for Liverpool. We would be murdering them. That's what Chelsea needs to look at. That's that profile of midfielder.
I mean, a lot of people will play devil's advocate and they'll say Jorginho has been doing, in terms of games that he's involved in, I think he's only had, I think I mentioned it earlier, he's only had one defeat this season in games that he started. Played quite well yesterday. Obviously set up Werner for the chance. He is very inconsistent though with those balls over the top for me. So that's where the issue lies. So it's an interesting one because the balance is obviously is it going to be sustainable to reach the top level in the latter stage? I mean, we can find out this season really in the latter stage of the Champions League just how serious these guys are. But I mean, would that be your priority over the defense and the striking position?
I think I think the midfield. I think we've been looking at the attack. We've been looking at the defense. I think the midfield, and you got to think of it like this as well. The midfield won't be expensive to deal with. If you look at the French league, they got so many midfielders over there who are going to go for a very, very cheap price. And the Premier League, one thing I've noticed as well is if you look at all the greatest midfielders in the Premier League, a lot of them have come from the French league. The French league has always been a great factory of good defensive and deep lying playmakers. I think Chelsea needs to look over there. It won't cost a lot. It won't. So it's not like us going to buy a midfielder or two from the French league will cost us a lot of money anyway. It'll be very cheap. We're talking about 20 to 25 mil. What's that? Do you get what I mean? That's nothing. So
I think the one thing they'll struggle with though is offloading players, because the same happened last summer is that we're in a market, and it's going to be interesting for Liverpool as well, because I feel like you do have to sell to buy.
We'll take Conte, bro. If you're looking to read Conte, man, we're all day long. My brother.
We're good. We're good.
No way is anybody going to a direct rival. That's not happening. I feel like this market, people, I don't know if they can afford the players that we're potentially trying to offload. We know how Marina gets with her negotiations as well. So it's like, as much as we want to bring in these new players, we have a very bulky squad, and a lot of players will have to leave that squad for us to even bring players in. So everybody talks about Haaland, Donnarumma. Before we can even bring anybody like that in, or any midfielders players have to leave. And remember, we have players coming back from loan as well that we have to deal with. So Conor Gallagher, Loftus-Cheek, Mark Gahey, Ethan Ampadu, all of these guys are going to come back and make the squad even bigger. So I think like with the likes of Ross Barkley, I think he will go, and I think a team will pay a good price for him as well. I think his sell is going to be good for, it's going to come good. Now you're right. Guehi, I think he's going to go out on another loan. I think a Premier League loan to see how he gets on in the Premier League. I think Tomori's gone. As much as I love Tomori and I would love to have him in the Premier League with us, I think he's gone as well. I think he's gone. And that hurts me to say. But with the likes of Gallagher, I think he will probably get another season on loan. Ampadu as well. We might see Billy Gilmore go out on loan. The only other issue is Loftus-Cheek. I don't know what's going to happen with him. I don't really see him getting in his Chelsea team as well. It's hard to see.
Yeah, I feel like Ruben needs a second loan, and that will be the way to get the best out of him. Like you could say, this might be a bit too late for him, but Ruben's the same in like Tammy in the sense where all they want to do is succeed at Chelsea. So if that's all they want to do, then we can be a bit more patient with them. Ruben can get that second loan because he's still going to need game time to get fully back to his best. He's doing well at Fulham right now, but there still isn't 18-19 Ruben Loftus-Cheek. So there's still levels that he needs to go to. So I think he needs one more loan deal, maybe at a mid-table Premier League club or a club fighting for Europa League positions or somewhere like that.
Because he's going to be turning 26 next year, isn't he?
Yeah,
I know
honestly,
he's going to be a late bloomer, but I expect him to be a late bloomer. We shouldn't have had that friendly at that stupid time before the Europa League final, but here we are, and now Ruben Loftus-Cheek has regressed 3 years. It doesn't mean he's finished as a player. It just means it's going to take a lot longer than we expect him to get back to his best. What's his name? Hudson-Odoi had a partial Achilles tear, and we're only just seeing him back to his best now. Loftus-Cheek had a full tear. So I know he ain't ready yet. He's going to have at least another year of development yet. So we got to be patient with him, but he's not expecting to get back into the first team immediately. All he wants to do is succeed at Chelsea. So we can be patient if that's all that he wants to do.
Yeah. Our Arthur for DPL, Zakario and Didi for DM, those 4 perfect double pivot for Tuchel. I want to ask Grizz as well, because obviously we're talking about the summer now. FSG, I spoke to the guys at Team Coppage as well in the preview about this. Obviously, Drifty was FSG out. I kind of want to get your take on FSG and where are you going in the summer? Because if you you're smiling now because I feel like there's something brewing there, but I may
no. I'm smiling because I'm gonna sort out Drifty when I send him a couple of DMs.
I feel
and
like
he's gonna have a different opinion next week.
I feel like you guys could do with the same type of potential overload of your squad, or at least a lot of touch-ups in the positions in terms of your midfield. We spoke about the amount of injury-prone players you have in midfield with Keita, with Chamberlain, and someone else as well. I forget the name as well, who else I mentioned. But how do you think this summer, I mean, obviously Champions League football is probably very influential on this, but just FSG, do you think, because I feel like I look at Liverpool's squad and I think to myself, you don't have the players of the Coutinhos, of the Sterlings, of the Suarez's that you can command 150 million for to say, okay, we're going to sell one guy, like kind of how Arsenal used to do it, but he was a bit more smarter with the money. And Arsenal just used to let them go for free, for God's sake, they were idiots. But you're going to get rid of a player and then you're going to revamp the squad, kind of like what you did with the Coutinho money, etc. Do you feel like, I mean, it doesn't feel like the same value in this squad because Salah, Mane, Firmino, they're all 29, 28, coming towards the, the peak of their careers, and teams tend to be going for younger players, especially in this market. You want resale value. Do you worry about FSG injecting the cash needed to keep Liverpool where they are, or do you think you could potentially fall off? What do you think is going to happen? Because obviously your neighbours down the road are wealthy, bro.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, we can't compete with the likes of a Man City and Man United and a Chelsea for sure in terms of squad bloating. Like we talked about, like buying people that are sort of, we can't basically, Liverpool have never been a club we can have 50, 60 million players on the subs bench. We've had to, as you said, wheel and deal, and we've been brilliant at it when we've done it. We just haven't done it enough. So how I'm talking about the last 4 or 5 windows, we won the Champions League and we bought Harvey Elliott and Vandenberg and them, man, and that goalkeeper, I don't even want to say his name. He's nasty. Every time I say his name, I feel filthy.
Adrian.
Yeah, man, that's him. You say it for me.
It was free though.
But this is my point. We're looking for bargains. FSG in the last 2 years have done the bare minimum, and that's the problem because they haven't needed to. When they've needed to, they've done major deals. So yeah, you talk about Phil Coutinho had to go. So we had a nice lump sum, and then we went out and done Alisson, Virgil, and then Keita. So it's got to a point with FSG this summer. Again, it's like 3 years ago. They've got no choice but to go huge this summer. They've got no choice. So everything that they planned is kind of backfired on them because they were trying to hopefully get through with the magic of Klopp and just keep doing 1 or 2. Like this summer, they'd done the bare minimum. Everyone was hyped up about getting
Klopp was your Messi, and you was
simple. He's their golden goose. Bad, honestly, there's no other way of putting it. And they're not the perfect owners, but they're not as bad as some people make out because we're in a very good financial state. And I firmly believe we're going to show that this summer.
Yeah.
So whereas everyone's talking about prices and money and COVID and pandemic, because we've been so pragmatic and some people will say tight ass with our money. Now is a market to buy because as Monstar said, the French market is in trouble. The French clubs, and that's a country market. You want to go. Some serious ballers there. Hossam Aouar, one of your super chats, I think was Hossam Aouar.
Leon, yeah, baller.
We've I know for a fact that we've made contact with his agent, firm contact with agent. So we're looking now. Now they're seething the way the season's gone. But a lot of Liverpool fans think you need to be more than seething. You don't even feel what we're feeling because you've ruined this period that Klopp could have dominated if you backed him a little bit more.
Yeah.
So we know Klopp's on a par with Pep. Trying to choose the best manager out of Klopp and Pep is the debate. It's chat. Yeah. Some people say Klopp, but we're gonna miss out on the peak years under Klopp because of the owners' stinginess, maybe. Yeah. And so this summer is vital because Klopp ain't gonna wanna build a team for next man to come and take over. Klopp still got until 2024. So if he has a rebuild, and when we say rebuild, I know for a fact that if we get 3 minimum first teamers, we're good to go again with all the 5-7 mans I said are out.
When they come back,
So when they come back, so when you got Joe Gomez, Matip, Henderson, Fabinho, Virgil, when all these mans are back, and then you add 3-4 first teamers, not your Minaminos as a squad player, not Harvey Elliott who's a kid, not your potentials, but when we buy players that can go into the team. So you guys bought Werner, who you knew is going to battle for the first team. He ain't going to sit on the bench. He ain't here to Thiago Silva. He's taking over.
Important to get the age profile down as well for you guys as well.
100%, and we're looking to do that. So listen, I'm not FSG out. I'm FSG act. And I think they will act this summer because otherwise, Liverpool fan base is not like an Arsenal fan base where they let their owners. Arsenal fan base let their owners tread all over them. They have trod all over them for years. Liverpool fan base is strong. We made them overturn so many bad decisions: the ticket prices, the furlough. The moving of the stadium.
I remember that.
We didn't let them move. We didn't let them move. So they're not going to want to fuck about it too much. They've taken a piss already, but this summer they have to get back in our good books, and I firmly believe that they will.
I will say Liverpool fans aren't really my favorite fan base, but the movement with the
vice versa, but you guys I love.
No. The same way. The move you did 15-16 with the ticket prices, and they bottled the 2-0 lead as soon as you guys left the ground against Sunderland. That was ridiculous. I give you lot credit for that. That was brilliant.
I have to respect it when fans stand up for themselves because we are the life and soul of any club. Listen, we have to wrap that up there because me and Grizz got to hop on the big six and tango with Saeed in a minute, which is going to be great fun. I'm sure Grizz is looking forward to it.
Lord,
listen.
Make Chelsea proud, my guy.
Yeah, of course. It's been a great stream. Bless up to the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this late kickoff. Over 600 of you. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you go and subscribe to Lewis. Listen, Carefree Lewis G. Link is in the description.
AC Hive.
The AC Hive.
We out here. We active. Come on. Say family on love.
He's looking for Richarlison next. You remember Richarlison, what he did last time we played Everton, yeah?
Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. There isn't a lot of space in the penitentiary, but AC don't give you a lot of space either. So you got to make do with what you have. It is what it is.
Link is in description for Lewis. Link is in description for MonstarCFC. Listen, lateness is greatness. My guy understands the rules.
I'm sorry about that.
Nah, bro, much love. Listen, it's always good to have you on. Make sure you guys subscribe to him. Link is in description. And, of course, listen, first time on the channel, Grizz from LFCDayTrippers. Listen, my guy, we're going to speak again very soon, but it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. Always logical, always calm and collected. You're going to need that in the next show, of course, in a couple minutes. But link is in description for LFCDayTrippers. Make sure you guys go and subscribe. Appreciate that. 100%. Bless up, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll be back tomorrow with Alexis Nunes at 2:30 after the Arsenal game, and then we crack on to Everton because, listen, W settings only. We need them 3 points again. Top 4 race continues in a bit, people. Peace.
Trust me.